Okay, take 2 because Audacity keeps recording with.
Okay, take 3 because Audacity keeps trying to record with my laptop microphone instead of my Samsung Mirror mic because technology. So when it comes to the OG parkour / Bhop maps, Super Parkour may have been the first parkour map I've personally ever played, but Bhop Badges was probably my favorite one back in the day. Badges is the map that basically wrote the rough draft on how a parkour map should be made. The map has checkpoints, wall surfing, jumping around walls, boost ramps, basically everything that a modern standard parkour map would have. This map essentially popularized what we all know as Krunker parkour and packed it together into a fun experience unrivaled by any other map at the time. This map also happens to be broken. Yeah, due to some updates to Krunker itself, it's now pretty much impossible to beat Bhop Badges without cheating and using low gravity or high jump or something. Which is really sad because I still have yet to get to the end of this once legendary map, and now I may never do so legitimately. But it is possible to at least reach the last room before the end, albeit through a bunch of glitches and tricks. Now please note that the footage recorded for this video was taken before the recent 1.1 update, so some things may be different now. Also, while I couldn't reach all parts of the map via gameplay, I did make use of the spectate mode to film B-roll featuring some of the missing rooms, including the ending part. So preemptive spoiler alert, even though you may never reach the end anytime soon. The very first part of the map before you get any points is this small spawn zone, which is actually Badge's anti-cheat similar to that of parkour room, where if you try to use high jumps and low gravity, it catches you. Only this time it's a bunch of bullcrap because even with the normal settings and a rounder, you still die. That's just wonderful. It's a good sign when the very first jump is bugged and you have to perform some funky crouch in midair thing to get by, because first impressions don't matter at all, I guess. But after you get past the metal detector, you get boosted onwards to the real beginning of Bhop Badges, and it is at this point where everything revolutionary about this map begins to take place. This map at first glance seems like any parkour / Bhop map that would come out today. Only thing is that it's the first Bhop / parkour map like it. It's the first map I know of that uses the checkpoint system, which is when the challenges are broken up into small sections where when you miss a jump, space before W, you just glitch out. You only have to go back to the beginning of the section instead of starting the whole map over again. This has become a staple in all sorts of maps, such as Bhop Levels 6.4, and yes, I know, Bhop and Krunker isn't quite the same as CSGO and other real games. In Krunker, Bhop is just parkour, and is often used interchangeably with parkour, even if the maps don't have any actual bhopping at all. Okay? Get the real Bhop badges out of your mind. But the most important feature popularized in the map is wall surfing, which is where you have two cubes or reticular prisms right on top of each other, each sharing a horizontal edge. You can jump onto this shared edge thing, and as long as you keep holding the keys in the direction against the wall, you won't fall off. Well, there is another long lost map that first introduced this mechanic. Bhop Badges was the one that popularized it, like I said. It is yet another staple of Krunker Bhop / parkour. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna call it Bhop poor. That works. Granted, the novelty wore off long ago, but back then I couldn't wrap my mind around it. It was like the coolest and most frustrating thing ever to surf the walls, jump around the corners, and be a pro. But of course, this wall surfing mechanic would soon prove to be Badge's Achilles heel. You see, there were some updates to Krunker itself that kind of broke wall surfing. While wall surfing works just fine for most walls, other walls just don't work at all. I can't quite grasp why this happens or how to determine what works and what doesn't. So as far as I know, it just happens at complete random. And it's this new glitch that leaves Badges utterly broken. Starting at level 12, there are a few walls that are affected by this glitch in a way that makes it impossible to beat this room normally. At this point, Bhop Badges as a whole may as well be considered impossible. But there is actually a somewhat bizarre way to carry on forward, and it involves another glitch. If you climb this ladder and then jump under the somewhat short barrier between the current and previous rooms, you can walk along the top, jump onto an invisible ladder, and as long as you stay careful, you can spam the hell out of A and D to climb upwards through the ceiling because physics and wind up in a later room. Unfortunately, this skips the room right after the glitched room and you'll have no choice but to miss a point, but at least you can continue on instead of forever being stuck with only a quarter of the points. Moving on, when you reach the 14th room after a pretty long fall, it is here where I had to bring up my biggest issue with Badges, glitches aside. I'm going to be upfront with this. this. The lighting in Badges is awful. I can barely see a thing with it being so dark, which means you have to squint and nearly give yourself a migraine just to see where you're going. I'm sorry, but if I have to change my monitor's brightness and contrast or just kick up the balloon just to compensate, you've done something wrong. But whatever. After you turn on night vision, you can make it past this hallway of jumps, walk and fly through this weird purgatory place where you can see the rather bizarre outside of the map, and then you get over half of the points in the map simply by flying through this tunnel. And by the way, I find it kind of annoying when maps do that. They have these crazy high total point numbers promising a huge epic experience, yet the majority of them are just all in one place. Okay, thank you for scamming me then. Like, what's the big deal? Why not just have 1 point? Stop fudging up the numbers for crying out loud. Then you get to this one room where you have the wall surf to continue, and we run into our next broken part. You normally have to jump to here to get to here, but this surf wall doesn't work at all, and as a result you won't be able to move on. You'll be stuck here just jumping at this bit over and over and over again, hoping it would work. Or alternatively, you can just climb the invisible ladder in the corner. You don't even miss any points this way, so it works out. Then you make a few dives, which thank god there's no fall damage. Then the invisible blocks. Now you probably know how I feel about fake platforms. They get on my nerves. Most of the time they don't make a map challenging, but instead they just make it cheap. You have to figure out the hard way which ones are fake or not, and by that I mean just jump at the platforms, and if you fail then you know that's the wrong one. It forces you to slow down, rack your brain, and memorize where to land, and it is annoying and cheap, and unless you're making a map based more on playing games than Bhop, don't use them. For love of God, don't use them. Invisible blocks, however, are a little bit different. If they leave breadcrumbs, like the first one here, where they have little things at the top that tell you where they are, then they are okay and can even be cool. But if they don't leave crumbs, like in the second part, and they're just somewhere in this general area, it's the same as having to memorize the fake blocks using trial and error, only you don't even know where the blocks are. The worst thing is that I'm playing as a runner. That means I can't shoot around to see where I can land, and the platforms are tiny, so I can't spray them either. That means I literally have to jump at thin air just to see if I can land somewhere. One of the most important parts of doing parkour is to be able to see where you're going. Like I said about the late Unort, if you can't see where you're going and you just have to take a guess, then you aren't using any skill, you're just relying on pure luck, and it's not fun. But once you finally get past that, you go through another section of wall surfing jumps, enter this weird grassy area with a fake floor, then go through another section of some really precise wall surf jumps before you reach the final room. And it is here where I must say, unfortunately, that you've reached a dead end. You can jump on the first few platforms, but beyond that, the very first surf wall is glitched. There aren't any fake ladders anywhere that you can climb, and there is no way you can get to the end. What a shame. But at least I can use spectate mode to at least see the ending. And it's a cake, and a GG, and an event thing, and something here, I don't know what that is. And a window to the first challenge where you can mark all the noobs stuck on probably the easiest jumps ever. It's so sad to have such an important part of Krunker history cut off, to have arguably the most influential Bhop horror map ruined over time due to some stupid update, just like finding adult jokes in your favorite childhood movies. But for what it's worth, even nowadays, Bhop Badges is still a great map, especially for its time. It's just a shame that the mystery surrounding the now coveted ending may never be solved. Like, where does this event lead to? What does this mess mean? Is the cake a lie? Did he seriously pull that crap in 2018? We may never truly know anymore. All I know is that Bhop Badges will forever be remembered as a classic, and all of the Bhop horror maps in Krunker owe their respect to this pioneer.